After the operators had refused to accept the president's terms for peace, the strike went on with its continued bitterness, suffering, patience. Strikers were killed, gunmen were killed. John R. Lawson, an official of the union, active in behalf of the rank and file, was arrested and charged with murder. It was an easy matter in the operator-owned state to secure a conviction. I took a train and went to Iowa to see President White. President Wilson said that this strike must be eventually settled by public opinion, said I. It's about time we aroused a little. We've got to give this crime of convicting an innocent man of murder a little publicity. You're right, Mother, said he. What do you think we ought to do? I want to hold a series of meetings over the country and get the facts before the American people. Our first meeting was in Kansas City. I told the great audience that packed the hall that when their coal glowed red in their fires, it was the blood of the workers, of men who went down into black holes to dig it, of women who suffered and endured, of little children who knew but a brief childhood. You are being warmed and made comfortable with human blood, I said. In Chicago, Frank P. Walsh, chairman of the Industrial Commission, addressed the meeting. Garrick Theater was crowded. He told them of the desperate efforts of the operators to break the spirit of the miners by jailing their leaders. We held meetings in Columbus and Cleveland, and finally held a mass meeting in Washington. By this time, the public opinion that President Wilson referred to was expressing itself so that the long-eared politicians heard. Through the efforts of men like Ed Nockels, labor leader of Chicago, and others, John Lawson was released on bonds. Ed Nockels is one of the great men who give their life and talents to the cause of the workers. Not all labor's leaders are honest. There are men as cruel and brutal as the capitalists in their ranks. There is jealousy. There is ambition. The weak envy the strong. There was Bolton, secretary of the miners in Trinidad, a cold-blooded man, a jealous, ambitious soul. When Lawson was arrested, he said, "He is just where I want him." I was at headquarters in Trinidad one morning when two poor wretches came in and asked him for some coal. Their children were freezing, they said. Bolton loved power. He loved the power of giving or refusing. This time, he refused. A fellow named Ulick, an organizer, was present. I said to him, "Go with these men and see what their condition is. Buy them coal and food if they need it." And I gave him money. One of the men had walked over the hills with his shoes in tatters. The other had no overcoat, and the weather was below zero. Ulick returned and told me the condition of these miners and their families was terrible. I am not blind to the shortcomings of our own people. I am not unaware that leaders betray and sell out and play false. But this knowledge does not outweigh the fact that my class, the working class, is exploited, driven, fought back with the weapon of starvation, with guns and with venal courts whenever they strike for conditions more human, more civilized for their children and for their children's children. In this matter of arousing public opinion, I traveled as far as Seattle. The Central Trades Union of Seattle arranged a monster mass meeting for me. I told those fine Western people the story of the struggle in their sister state. I raised a lot of hell about it, and a lot of money, too, and a yell of public opinion that reached across the Rockies. The miners of British Columbia were on strike. They sent for me to come and address them. I went with J.G. Brown. As I was about to go on the boat, the Canadian immigration officers asked me where I was going. "To Victoria," I told them. "No, you're not," said an officer. "You're going to the strike zone." "I might travel a bit," said I. "You can't go," said he, like he was Cornwallis. "Why?" "I don't have to give reasons," said he, as proudly as if the American Revolution had never been fought. "You'll have to state your reasons to my uncle," said I, "and I'll be crossing before morning." "Who is your uncle?" "Uncle Sam's my uncle," said I. "He cleaned hell out of you once, and he'll do it again. You let down those bars. I'm going to Canada."